Hi everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. I hope that things are going well with you. Today I have 11 books from my monthly book haul that I want to talk about. As usual, there's a bit of variety in this book pile. I have actually hauled probably double this amount of books this month, but I chose to highlight these ones in particular because they are the books that I'm most excited about, and some of them I think are kind of flying under the radar, so I thought it might be nice to give them more attention and shed some light on them. 5 of the books in the pile are books that could be considered books that the book community, either here on BookTube or on Bookstagram, made me do it. So I think I'm going to start with those. First up is a book that was brought to my attention by Wanya's Reading Corner, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Wanya is from Barbados and is the host of the Booklimers book club on Instagram, and I had first read her post about this book, which piqued my curiosity, and then when I asked in a post what was the best book you read in March, she responded and said Blackberries, Blackberries by Crystal Wilkinson was her answer. So I'm going to read her post to you so you can see why I was intrigued by this one. The post says, "What a book. Reaction from a fellow book club member, and we all agreed. We did this collection of short stories for our March meetup at the Booklimers book club, and we all loved it and wondered why we don't hear more about the book and or the author. Our one words to describe the book: lyrical, tough, poetic, touching, bittersweet, emotive, sacrifice. This brilliantly written collection of short stories is about blackberries. Crystal writes that these stories come from the ordinary and the extraordinary. They are the stories of Black country women with curious lives. From struggle, from fear, from love, from life, from the gut, from the heart. Black and juicy, just like a blackberry. There are some great stories in this bundle that manages to bring both laughter and tears as well as joy and sadness. In Waiting for the Reaper, we read about the life of a woman who is always expecting and calling for death so that she can be with her loved ones, and this just does not happen. Peace of Mind is a story of a divorced mother who tries to have some time to herself and receives calls from her best friend, her kids who are out camping, her ex-husband, all while she is enjoying the moments alone, trying to read and finding some peace of mind. In Need, a wife confronts her husband's mistress over dinner at her favorite restaurant. Tipping the Scales is very strong and has all the attributes for a novel with a great ending. No Ugly Ways was the story that had the most impact on the Limers. It is the story of a young woman's torment that erupts violently and unintentionally. Folks, we simply all agree that this is a must read." So, after reading that, and then I saw the book a few times suggested by some other people, I thought I really need to pick this up, and I'm really glad that I did. So thanks to Wanya for bringing this to my attention, and I will leave a link to Wanya's Instagram below if you want to check it out. The next 4 are all influenced by booktubers. The first one is another collection of short stories, Searching for Marilynn Monroe, Parables and Other Animals, and this is by Pae Veo. Thank you to Pae for sending me his book when I indicated that I would like to read it. Pae is a fellow Canadian, and his channel is called Attention. It's very creative, and I'm always interested in his thoughts about the books that he talks about. He has influenced me to add Ray Bradbury and Franz Kafka to my TBR. And from what I can tell with this collection, Kafka has influenced Pae's writing, and like his BookTube videos, Pae's humor will come through in these stories as well. So I love the title of this collection and the illustration on the cover, and the illustration is by, I know it says here somewhere, Derek Bow. So I will leave a link to Pae's channel in the description box, so if you aren't already familiar with it, you can check it out. Up next is a fiction, or I guess a historical fiction novel that Jane from Lady Jane Books has talked about a few times, and I was very intrigued by it because I am also intrigued by the true story that this is based on, and that is See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmidt. And this is about Lizzie Borden, who was tried and acquitted in the murders of her parents. And no one was ever charged for their murders. And there has always been a lot of speculation and mystery around this story. Jane does a great video where she takes us on a tour of the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts, which I thought was so wonderful. It's totally something I would do, and so I was finally able to pick this up, and I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing how the author, tells this story in a new way. And I think it's told from different perspectives, and I don't think any of the narrators will be reliable, so I think that it will only continue to have the mystery and intrigue. So I will leave a link to Lady Jane Books below, so you can check her channel, and I will also leave a link to the Lizzie Borden house tour video that she does. The next book purchase I am happy to blame on Rainier from Rainier Books. Starting in May, he is doing a post-Soviet book club in which he and anyone who wants to join him are reading a book bi-monthly that has been published after the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991. So I think he has listed 5 or 6 books so far, and I had not been aware of any of them when I looked at what he had on there. So I think that this will introduce me to literature that I normally would not read, and I think having discussion around it will be really good too. So I'm going to do my best to read along with Rainier, and the first book for May is Untraceable by Sergei Lebedev. And like I said, I had never heard of this novel or this author before. I kind of want to go in as blind as possible with these books so that I don't have any preconceived notions. I know that this one has something to do with poisons and toxins that Russia and the Soviet Union have developed, and this leads to several deaths, and I believe the book is what the consequences are for the people involved with that. So this is totally outside my usual reading, so I'm really looking forward to learning from it and discussing. I will leave a link to Rainier's channel in the description box below, and maybe I'll also I'll leave a link to the video where he introduces the book club, so you can have a look at that list and what else he has up his sleeve. The last book that was influenced by a booktuber is called The Corpse Exhibition and Other Stories of Iraq by Hassan Blasim, I think, and translated by Jonathan Wright. So I heard about this collection of short stories from Jen from Remembered Reads. Jen did a video called Recent Reads, Poetry, Horror, War, Memoirs, and the Politics of Translation. I hope I got that right. There were a few books from her list that I now have on my radar, but this one appealed to me the most because I haven't read any books by authors from Iraq. That got me to do a bit of research, and there were no names that I recognized except for Saddam Hussein, and I thought, I should have a look into this a bit more. So I'm going to start with this collection of stories, and then I'll see where this reading experience leads. I will leave a link to Jen's channel below, as well as the video where she talks about this book in particular. Now, I've only been following her for a little bit, but so far I've been really impressed, with her book recommendations, so you can check it out. Next up is a mystery thriller novel, When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLain. And I love this cover. It kind of does this shimmery thing that's kind of cool. I don't know if you can tell in the light. This is about Anna, who is a detective for missing persons in San Francisco. And when Anna finds herself grieving, she decides to go back to her roots, which is in Northern California. and she figures she can take the time that she needs there to heal, but the universe has other plans for her because a teenager has gone missing, and Anna gets involved in the case. And this is a story of past and present kind of coming together and being prepared for a moment when it comes along. The concept for the next novel, I think, is fascinating. It's The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. This takes place in the early 1900s, and Esme is a young girl whose father is involved in collecting words for the first ever Oxford English Dictionary. Esme realizes that not all the words get into the dictionary, and she starts to keep the discarded words. I just love the idea, and I've never really thought about the words that don't make it into the dictionary and how that can have an effect and change our understanding of language and ourselves and our world. So Esme becomes the keeper of a lost narrative that she realizes are often words and meanings that are related to women's experiences. Next up is a book from the Republic of Consciousness. It's called The Actual Whole of Music by Hayden Middleton. This is another book that I want to go in as blind as possible. Sorry, Jack just keeps scratching at this thing. It's being published on May 1st. And I know that other people have called it original in its writing and storytelling. And I have a sense that it takes place after a major disaster, and it might be a bit dystopian, but I think it's more than that. There's so much mystery going into it, and all it says on the back is this. Many years later, a small boy would say to me, "What's inside music? If the bit we hear is just the skin of it, the scent, what's the actual whole of music?" There wasn't a great deal I could say to him in reply. Not then. But his question took me back to our extraordinary era, which did feel like a time of transaction as well as transition. Could we just conceivably have been bringing something to leave behind? And might we also have been taking something on? And then on the flap, the front of the flap, it says this. A love letter to the entrancement of being alive, or an untrustworthy recollection of events. A manual for existence, or an invitation to surrender before the mysteries of life. Young travelers emerge from the blackout, uncertain of their past, unknowing of their future. As they drift across a reconfiguring world, the darkness gives way to laughter. Then one of their number is charged with setting down what happens next. In a narrative which speaks both to and for its audience, this is that account. A novel of astonishing power and originality, The Actual Whole of Music is a reminder that we are relentlessly displaced by forces around us, before us, and after us. It is the essential novel for now, as it always will be. So now you know about as much about this book as I do. So I will keep you posted on how this book goes. Next is Wretchedness by Andrzej Tichy and translated by Nicola Smalley. And this is from And Other Stories. And I think it was longlisted for the International Booker Prize. It takes place in Sweden, and it's about a cellist who meets a junkie. And this encounter kind of triggers a whole bunch of memories of the cellist's youth. And as he recalls this, we kind of go along and we're taken for a ride to learn about his past. The next book is two novellas by one of my favorite Indigenous authors, A Perfect Likeness by Richard Wagamese. And this includes Him Standing, which is about a wood carver named Lucas Smoke, who has real talent and can make people come to life in the wood that he carves. The next Sure Thing is the second novella, and it's about Cree Thunderboy, who is good at playing blues guitar and picking the winning horses at the track. So Cree really wants to make his living playing the blues, and he might be able to make his dreams come true when he meets a man at the racetrack. If you've been watching my videos, you know I love Richard Wagamese, and I am slowly trying to get through all of his books, so I'm really looking forward to reading these two novellas. And finally, the book that isn't like any of the others, Virgin River by Robyn Carr. This is a romance book I'm going to try and read in the next couple of months. It's part of a series with about 7,000 books, and I have watched the series on Netflix. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I enjoyed the series, so I'm hoping to also enjoy the novel. And it seems to follow the series, from what I can tell, from the synopsis on the back. So Melinda Monroe takes a job as a nurse in a remote town in Virgin River to escape her past, and when she arrives, it's not at all what they have described to her. So she figures not a problem, she's going to leave and go back, and then she meets Jack Sheridan, and she might have to rethink all of those things again. So these are some of the books that I hope to get to eventually. As always, I will leave a list of all of the books I mentioned in the description box, and as well as the channels and the videos and Instagram accounts I mentioned. Please let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, or if there are any that interest you. And let me know what books you have read recently, or books that you've received and that you're looking forward to the most. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.